Now that we have most of his body done, let's start with his legs and then we'll go on to his arms. So legs going to be very simple. Normally we would do something with cylinders and then creating a foot, but because of how small and bulbous his leg is, we're going to use a sphere instead. Now I don't usually recommend doing it this way, but for this project it should be good enough. So I create a new sphere. I'm going to change my subdivision axis and height to about 8. That way we have a little bit amount of geometry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this about 90 degrees along this rotate Z axis. And that's because we want it facing this way. It's going to make our lives a lot easier when it comes to attaching the leg to the body. So if we rotate it this way, it's just a lot easier. So first things first, let's take a look at it in our side view, and we have a very bulbous area for his leg. That's going to make things a little difficult, but we should be okay. So let's start by moving it roughly into place, scale it roughly in a good spot. So we're just going to kind of go along this curve. That looks like it's a good spot. I'm going to flatten this out a bit because we don't really need that much of it. We're going to bring it out over here. Probably going to end up rotating it, but I might do that later. Next, I'll go into the side view and do pretty much the same process. I'm just going to move it into a good spot. That looks pretty good. And that's going to be our basis for our leg. So what I'm going to end up doing is I might take some of these vertices. Oops, do I have him in the body right now? I do. So let's take his leg out of the body right now, just so it's easier to select. So I'm just going to move it away from the body. And what I'll do with this is I'll take some of these vertices and I'm just going to kind of move them around a little bit better, just so it kind of attaches a little easier later on. It shouldn't matter too much, but this should be a good spot to start. So all I'm doing is just moving some of these vertices around. And normally, depending on what character you're making, you won't have to do this. Just for Pikachu at this point, this is going to be how we're doing it. I'm then going to select these bottom faces right here. And let me just show from here. These are going to be the basis for his feet. So I'm going to do an extrusion. And what I'll do is I'm going to use a center scale to kind of extrude a little bit inwards, just like this. And then I'm going to do another extrusion. Move this aside so I get to this. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. And I'm going to use the y-axis scale to kind of flatten things a little bit, just like that. And that's going to be a good start for our foot. So now that I've got that going for us, we kind of go. I'm going to switch to vertex mode, and I'm going to use this new geometry that we now have to kind of shape it a little bit better. So I'm just kind of going in and moving these vertices to the right spots. At this point, I'm going to be eyeballing a lot of this, but that should be okay for now. So what I'll do is I'm going to end it right there by the toes. That way we can kind of make them ourselves. So in Pikachu's case, we have 3 toes right here, which should make things a little bit more difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these faces right here. I'm going to extrude them outwards, just like that. Let's scale them down, bring them down, and that's going to give us a rough toe shape. And the next thing I'm going to do, let's take a look. Yeah, that should be good enough. Let me shape it out a little bit pointier. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in an edge loop right around halfway in these. I want to kind of split this into 3 pieces so that I have spot for the toes. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it for now and just kind of get that area there. So now what I could do is I could take these 2 faces, extrude them outwards. Let me switch it to that. So we kind of got that little piece of the toe. Let me point them a bit. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So bring this forward a bit. It's going to go a little bit longer, I believe. Yep, just a little bit longer. Oops, did not want to do that. And that should be good, yeah. I might scale this down a little bit. Yeah, it looks good. And when we smooth this out, this is going to look like a nice foot. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what the subdivision looks like, and that's going to be its 3 toes. Perfect. So next thing is attaching this to the body. So this is going to be a bit of a difficult spot, but we should be in pretty good shape. So the thing is, we're going to find a spot to attach our leg. So right here looks like the best spot for it. So I'm going to go and delete these 4 faces. Now we delete these 4 faces and we're going to use what's called appending polygons to get it all together. And the main part is we want to have 2 similar sided holes that we could append together. So if we deleted those 4 faces, we actually have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sided hole. So now that we know that, we got to do the same thing here, which is great because we started with an 8-sided sphere. So what we're going to do is, because we moved it and rotated it, we only really need to work on those 8 sides, which is already set up for us. So if I delete these faces right here and these right here, we now have 2 decently sized holes for our leg. And I'm going to leave it just like this for now because we could always adjust it later. It'll be easier. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and go to object mode, select both of them. We're going to go to a mesh and then combine. What that does is now Maya thinks this is all one object, which is great because we need that to append it, but it's bad because we have 2 big holes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the append to polygon tool. And what that does is it bridges 2 edges together, just like that. So I clicked on one edge, go directly across the other, and I'm going to hit G to repeat the command. G will repeat any tool command. So all I'm doing is I'm hitting G to reactivate the append to polygon tool, and then just go and work my way around the body. So he is going to look a bit weird from now because we have this huge gap, but once we kind of bring them closer together, it'll be fine. So all I'm doing is just going one side to the other, rotating if I need, and just kind of going. And on the last one, I'm just going to hit enter to seal it up. So if we look at this from the front view, it looks kind of weird. And that's okay, we can always fix that now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these vertices, and I'm going to use the move tool, bring them closer. I'm going to thin this out a bit, and we're going to bring it in, and then I'm going to actually move parts of these vertices to get a bit farther inwards. So all I'm doing is just kind of moving them along with the leg as much as I can to really fill out this area. And at this point, we might not have it fit perfectly, but that's okay. So as long as we kind of get the rough shape going, we will be fine. So I'm just going to go bring this over here to kind of fill that part of his body out. And we do have this going into his leg a bit, and this isn't matching up, but this should be fine for now. For our Pikachu, for his purposes at least, we will be okay. I might go inside and fix up these edges a little bit, and this really depends on how you are shaping him. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go in, find that spot where it connects. I'm going to move these vertices around a little bit better so that when we smooth it out, it isn't so rigid and crazy like this is. So all I'm doing is just kind of going from the inside and moving them around. You don't really have to do this. It really depends on how nitpicky you want to be on it. So with that being said, we're just going to go, and I'm going to adjust them just so that when we round things out, it'll look a little bit better, not so drastic as this. So let's go find this edge right here, bring it over a bit. We just want to try to keep this as smooth out as possible. So I might even go as far as moving things around as much as I can to really adjust this, because I don't really like how aggressive these edges are. So let me go find these different problematic areas and then adjust them as I need. Alright, in this case, this should be fine, but normally I wouldn't go this crazy with it. I'd probably end up doing stuff a little bit differently. So let me adjust this because it did mess up my toe a bit. There we go. So it's pretty much up to you how much you want to really adjust these things. But in my case, for time purposes, I'm probably not going to go too crazy. That should be fine for now. So next thing I'm going to do is the arm, which I'm going to use a cylinder for. So I'm just going to create a quick cylinder, change it to 8 sides with a subdivision axis, and this is going to become my arm. So for this arm, what I'll do is I'll go through the side view, I'll scale it down, and I'll rotate it so it roughly fits the arm. And we're going to kind of do things the same process. Pikachu has very small arms, which does make things a little easier. I'm going to change subdivision height to 3, just give us some more geometry, and we're just going to kind of go in and shape this out. So once I finish this arm, we're going to call it for now, and then we'll go and continue the rest of the next video. So at this point, his arms are going to be coming straight out, so we're going to find a good spot for that as well, which looks like it could be fine right there. So what I'll do is, for time purposes, I'm going to work with extrusions, and I'm just going to select all of these just like so, and we're going to do things pretty similar to how we did with the body. We're going to do just simple extrusions, bring it out a bit, scale it as we need, and that should be pretty good for there. Now Pikachu has 5 fingers, so what we'll do, I believe he has 5. I'll double check in a sec. So let's see. Oh, we can't really see. We're going to assume he has 5 fingers. So for his hand, we're going to do things pretty simply, and we're going to do by selecting about 5 of these faces. So we got 5 right there. I'm going to do an extrusion. I'm going to turn keep faces together off. That way I could scale them a little bit and kind of just pull them out a bit. And that's just going to kind of create those little fingers. There they are. Lovely. We could always adjust them as we need. Like, I'll probably move these 2 vertices back a little bit, give them more of a palm. But that should suffice for now. Next thing is attaching his arm to his body. Oops. So we'll go, put them roughly in the right spot, and we're going to see how we could get those attached. So in this case, we'll probably be doing the same thing. I might end up getting rid of some of these faces, but we'll see. So here, what I'll do is I'll go into my side view. I'm going to put an edge loop right there is fine. Right here I'll put one, just to kind of give us a little bit of space for his arm to attach. And in this spot, we will delete these 4 faces. We'll take his arm, delete these 8, so that we have 2 8-sided holes. We'll select the 2 objects and do the exact same thing as we did with the legs. We'll combine them, and then we'll go in and append them. So one side to the other, one side to the other. Oops. This one doesn't want to play nice. There we go. And then just work my way around his body. Just like so. That'll go over there. That looks pretty good. Then we'll go into our side view, grab these vertices, can't forget about you, and kind of move them into place as we need. Again, we're going to be kind of eyeballing parts of these areas just to make things as easy for us to move things around as possible. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of be adjusting things as we need to kind of fit nicely. That looks pretty good. And now we have his arm and his leg. So the next video, we're going to make his tail, and then we'll pretty much be done aside from his other side. But we'll do that as well next time. So see you then.